Now, I'm a very easygoing person, so I didn't study as hard as I should have. So when I saw the papers, there were many things I did not know. All right, you don't know everything. So what I did, if I didn't know something, I would answer something else. Can you hear me clearly? Yes. I would answer something else. And luckily I passed. Because if you don't pass, if I didn't pass, I would have come back to India. Fine. But then, you have to write an MA thesis, and if your MA thesis is not accepted, you don't even get an MA. But I passed, and then my PhD guy, an Irish American, he said, when you are asked something, you are answering something else. So that's how you learn bullshitting way to life. But it's not totally bullshitting. You have to look at things positively. I will say it was making the best of a bad situation. Right. So, on the basis of my PhD thesis, Routledge published my book. Routledge is one of the top publishers in the world from New York. So it's not that I was a total imposter. You know this imposter syndrome? Yeah. So we are subject to that. But it's not only that. There's also another thing. There was an American general in the Second World War. He said, if you want something done well, give it to a lazy person. That person will find out the optimal, simplest, and best way of doing it. So there again, it's a question of Pareto principle, 80-20 rule. Prioritize, optimize your inputs of time, energy, and so on. Because only donkeys and IS officers work hard. IS officers work hard, except me. So you have to work intelligently, right? Now the topic is urbanizing, right? Rural urbanizing. So to prepare for that, I looked at a book I have by Jane McGonigal. She is a PhD from the University of California, Berkeley, and she works in the Institute for the Future at Stanford. And she said, you can't prepare for the future. And so, changes are coming so fast and furious. 25 years ahead. 2047 means 25 years ahead. It's impossible to predict. Even Einstein or nobody can predict. So what she said is you approach the problem sideways. So you prepare future scenarios, right? You imagine how something would be like 10 years ahead, right? So one example is they imagine a scenario where an asteroid, a big asteroid is going to fall on, say, Sydney or somewhere, right? Then how people will prepare? You have to evacuate all the people, resettle them, all sorts of things, right? So it's impossible to imagine what the future will be like. I'm sure in 2047, if I'm still alive, it'll be a totally different world, right? But even now, 3-year-old children are playing with the digital toys and so on. And what she also does, because she did a PhD in digital games, and she prepares a scenarios, using game theory and stuff like that. A game is just an artificial situation with rules and so on. Like cricket is a game because there are certain rules. You don't bowl underhand. Certain rules like that, right? And so the idea behind using games is that it helps you to develop resilience, mental resilience, basically. Because as an MBA, you'll be facing so many situations, unpredictable situations, and you have to produce, right? Otherwise, your promotions and things like that. Or if you're an entrepreneur, your market and so on and so forth. So so playing with games, digital games and so on, is a very good way of preparing yourself, developing resilience, and so that you can cope with whatever life throws at you. And not only cope, thrive also, because life is full of challenges. But the problem with these kinds of games, thinking of future scenarios and so on, is that you need thousands of players, in different places and with communication technology as it is. Players in Sydney and Bombay and so on, they can all play the same game, right? So, but that's becomes a bit complicated. We want something that each of us can use. I thought that would be more useful for this audience today. So I decided to teach you a very useful system of visualization, which you can do individually in your own rooms or wherever you are. But basically, you can practice that and develop the capacity to thrive in any situation. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Sure. Okay. Now, I developed that model some years back, maybe 20, 25 years back, by synergizing my background. Because though I'm a technocrat, I studied other things also, because of interest. I think I mentioned I was in the US for 6 years. I studied Indology and Cultural Anthropology. And then I have a background in the IIS, 33 years in the IIS. So, and the IIS, government employees are notoriously difficult to motivate. And without motivating people, you cannot do anything. You can't even motivate yourself, right? But so using all these things, Maslow's ideas and Fred Hertzberg and all that, people like that. So I developed this model. So basically, what I do in this kind of in the visualization that I'm going to teach you is that to visualize well, you need to put yourself in a state of deep relaxation, a state of relaxed awareness. You're totally aware, but totally relaxed, mentally and physically. In that state, you can program yourself to achieve your goals in life, in your career, in your life, right? And so this is a kind of self-hypnosis. Now, hypnosis is a term which is misunderstood, but the basic definition of hypnosis is that it's an altered state. It's an altered state of focused attention, right? Where your mind is kind of, you have a single-minded focus on whatever you're listening. And the best way to visualize optimally, you have to use all your senses. Your visual sense, your auditory sense, and your other senses, your tactile senses, touch and so on. And by vividly imagining things, you can gradually or maybe even quickly achieve your goal. Yesterday on the plane, I was talking to I was seated across the aisle from a shooter, pistol shooting and all that, archery and all, shooter. So he turned out to be from the Assam civil service, that is the state civil service. After a few years, they get nominated to the IIS, whereas I got lucky or unlucky and was selected for the IIS directly. Sometimes I think unlucky because it's a stupid job. Anyway, so I was talking to the guy, we had a long chat. He was across the aisle from me, and then he was telling me, and he was reading a book on psychology, sports psychology, where they use visualization by some European woman. She's a shooter herself. And then I was telling him that there is a better way to do it because, if you use spiritual psychology, in spiritual psychology, you put yourself in a highly focused, altered state, which is somewhat like a spiritual state, right? So then I and so he's given me his number and he'll keep in touch with me. And I suggested to him that he should call me so that I can train some of the sportsmen in Assam, 1 or 2 sessions of my version of sports psychology. Because in these days of branding and patenting and so on, you have to develop your own spin on things. Maybe nonsense, but you get a trademark and sell it, right? Because he was telling me that he wanted to get some program from an Indian guy in the US, but he was selling that program for $700. Imagine, that's about 60,000 rupees, right? Very expensive. And I somehow felt that it was too much. Too much. The brand was selling it too high. But then, if you have the brand name, you can sell for. I mostly sell for what you want. Do you agree with me? We were talking about somebody who's buying apples in Himachal, and I said, he's a bad apple or something. Anyway. So in this state of focused attention, which you can call auto-hypnosis or meditation or visualization, you do some auto-programming, basically program yourself. Because when you do that, simple conditioning theory in psychology, stimulus response, when you do something repeatedly, that becomes habitual, right? And there is something physically, there's a physical aspect of it, because there is something called neuroplasticity. Can somebody tell me what is neuroplasticity or neuroplasticity? Tell me what's neuroplasticity? I'm not sure what it is. So, you see, previously people used to think that the brain doesn't change, right? But in the last 2 or 3 decades, there's so much advances in, neuroimaging and so on. They found out that even brain cells are being created, even as you grow older. That's called neurogenesis. There's also neuroplasticity, where the brain physically changes. When you do visualization, the part of the brain that is involved in that visualization process becomes thicker. Maybe the left upper neurocortex, I forget the terms, but basically the particular parts get developed. So, for example, Tibetan Buddhist meditators who have been meditating, for 10,000 years, hours or more, when they examine their brains, they find that particular parts of the brain have become bigger. You see? So these changes, the changes that you're making through visualization, become hardwired, right? So that's a very exciting thing, because it shows that mostly you can program yourself to achieve what you want in life. Now, I've not been a successful bureaucrat, but I've been a successful person. Because I get called for events like this, though I'm 70 years old. But basically, I have learned the things that I wanted to learn, right? And for example, I can put myself into an altered state almost at will, because I have been doing this kind of thing for the last 45 years. You see, neuroplasticity at work. Because when I was studying in Calcutta, during the summer break, I didn't go home. I like Calcutta, stayed back. Then I learned this kind of visualization, and I started doing it daily, right? So, from my personal experience, it is something that's going that can help you for the rest of your life. So maybe I should charge something for it. Maybe I'll give you my bank account and you can. Right. So let me talk about leadership, creativity, and peak performance. Leadership it has nothing to do with image, like the American election system. John Kennedy was elected because he was so impressive looking, right? Of course, he was a good president. Obama was elected because he could speak well. You know, Trump was also elected because he could talk nonsense well. But the point is, leadership is not about that. You can be in management teams and so on. You may be physically very unimpressive. That's not the point. So leadership is obviously carrying your team along, motivating them, and so on. What's your name? So you're the only person in the government. So please don't think I'm targeting you. But person. So you tell me something about leadership. See, since I've forgotten what I've read. Let me pick his brain. Do you agree, Anjali? You agree that it's innate? Maybe right, but let's hear her one.
I believe it's a process, like we develop it over time, but we start managing and then we become leaders.
Right, it's something you can develop. Yeah. Because talent alone is not enough. Right? You have to develop it. As somebody said, there are people who have studied at Harvard, but they are working under people who studied at Drexel or some third-rate college. Right? Right. Do you have anything to add? Okay, leadership. So this is a good way. You know, you are asked to talk about something and then you ask the audience to. So you tell me about creativity.
Creativity is an art in which you can push an activity or task new and out of the box. Because of creativity, we can also come up with solutions which might lead us to more than what we desire as a result.
Abid is not here. What's the difference between creativity and innovation? Vivaan? What's innovation?
I believe there is a very fine line in the innovation is more technology oriented, but creativity is more towards art.
No, that's not really the point because you need creativity in business also. Though it's usually associated with being an artist and things like that. But innovation is where you have a problem and let's say you apply methods to solve that particular problem and you come up with a new product or service. Right? Is that right, basically? So there is a difference. And innovation in business, innovation is probably more important because you need particular solutions to particular problems. Maybe problems you are interested in, but more often problems in what the potential market. You agree with me? Since you are a popular guy. Okay, what about peak performance? What is peak performance? Has Maslow said anything about peak performance, peak experiences? Who are the toppers here? Suggest some of the toppers to answer. I was never a topper. Yeah. Go ahead. Peak performance. What do you think? What is peak performance?
Good morning, everyone. So, as far as I know, peak performance is something as long as you're happy with what your output is, I believe that's what peak performance is. If it translates into a better result overall, then I'm good for the better.
You're a topper?
I don't think of myself as a topper, but
He is. So, I've never been a topper, but you're my kind of topper. being happy with what you want to do. That's right. Absolute passion and all that. But that's not really the but what I meant was easy like Nikhil Chopra. The javelin. Neeraj Chopra. Who's Nikhil Chopra? Okay. Neeraj Chopra. You see, how did he get into that mode of peak performance on that particular day? And he threw the javelin. So one is self-motivation, but that's not enough. You can't just say, I'll do it, and all that. Like, in tennis courts, every person is grunting, and even the audience gets irritated. But that's not it. It's basically putting yourself into a different, altered state of mind where your normal thinking process is not disturbing you. You say, I'll do it, but your mind is saying, can I do it? So putting yourself into a state of mind, more or less like thoughtlessness, not thoughtlessness where you go driving slightly drunk, not that kind of thoughtlessness, but thoughtlessness where your thoughts are not disturbing your, potential, your state of peak performance. So what did you say your name was? Okay. So did I get across? Let me drink some water and think of what to say next. Is the videographer taking the video? Okay. You people are not in a hurry to go anywhere, right? Okay. So, since I'm 70 years old, easy going, let me gather my thoughts and think of what to say next. But basically, let me talk something about Indian culture. Right? I have developed a trivalent model of Indian culture, basically three elements. Right? And I think that is important, quite interesting, because after living 6 years in the West, in America, I realized that India is very different from America. But people say because China is also in Asia like India, China is also like India as opposed to America. But that's not true. The Chinese, the East Asians are more like the Americans, more like Westerners than us, because we are highly individualistic. Americans, they have been dominating the world for the last 500 years, so we believe everything they say. So they say Americans are very individualistic, but actually it's Indians who are very individualistic. In a negative sense, as my senior Alan of IIM Calcutta, Dipesh Chakravarti, he is a very well-known South Asian scholar. Has anybody heard of him? No. He teaches at the University of Chicago, but now he doesn't teach management. He teaches South Asian studies, right? And he says in Calcutta, people will keep, or anywhere in India, people will keep their houses clean, but they'll throw the garbage in the road. So that's the negative part. But the positive part is, we have greater potential to think outside the box, right? Okay. And so India gradually is coming to take Indian civilization, Indian culture gradually coming up again. Right? So that's one part of it, individuality, right? Unless if you follow the herd, you cannot be as creative or innovative. That is you. You cannot be as creative or innovative as you want to be, as you can be. Then the other thing is attitudes towards gender, right? Now, in many ways, India is a lousy place for a woman to grow up, except for some places like Assam, Kerala. Most places, I think it's a curse to be a woman. But in mythology and other things, we have in Hinduism and Buddhism, you have so many goddesses, Durga Puja and so on. That goddess worship thing is very important in India. But because of my background in religious anthropology, I have mentored my daughter, and she has grown up intelligently, and she also tells me where I get off very often. So, that the potential of gender equity is there in India, and gradually, I think, as women take their place in the public sphere and so on. And paradoxically, it's in India that women have been, and in South Asia, Sri Lanka, India, also Pakistan, Bangladesh, where women have been political leaders. It hasn't happened in the West. Now, there are different reasons for all that. But looking at it positively, the potential for gender equity is there. Okay, so that's a very important thing. Though it is, as of now, maybe due to colonialism, it has been suppressed, but it will come to the fore. Thirdly, pleasure and play. You see, due to the Judeo-Christian background of Western culture, the Protestant work ethic. You've heard of the Protestant work ethic, right? I asked the topper, and then I'll ask the most popular guy. What's in Russia? Tell me about Protestant work ethic. Aditya. Sorry?
Depending on the external being by yourself.
Right, Weber and all that. Where are you from? Yes, Protestant work ethic is basically associated with the Judeo-Christian, cultural ideology. As they said, you feel guilty if you enjoy life. Okay. At some subconscious level, you feel guilty if you enjoy life. In fact, there was a psychedelic anthropologist named Alan Cole. He said, in order to feel good, you have to feel bad. It sounds paradoxical, but it makes sense. You see, when you're feeling, guilty about yourself, I'm not a good person and so on, then you feel good. You have all that. Anyway, but in Indian culture, there is a greater acceptance of pleasure, all sorts of pleasure, maybe intellectual pleasure, any other pleasure, right? And play. Play is also very important in Hindu and Buddhist, and also Indian Christianity, Indian Islam, Indian culture generally. The idea of play is very important. That's why you have this idea of Leela. Who wants to answer a question on Leela? Really? What's Leela? Right. Okay. The idea of Leela is that it's about cosmogony. You see, in every culture, people want to know why was the world created, how was the world created, right? Like in the Bible, God did something in 7 days and created the world. But in Hindu culture and Buddhist culture, there is the interesting idea that God or Goddess created the world out of play, right? Created the world out of play. And Rabindranath Tagore has this image of Leela. He says it's like a young girl, small girl, going to the beach, making a sand castle and so on. And then at the end of the day, when she goes home, she just kicks it over and goes home. So the world is created out of a sense of play, right? So that attitude is very interesting because it's better than feeling good by feeling bad, right? Okay. Now, let me tell you, there is a method in my madness. It's not that I'm becoming senile and talking about these different things. I'll bring it all together, hopefully. Okay. Now, how much more time do I have? 11:15. 3 minutes question answer. Okay. Right. So a few years back, I was invited to speak at the Golden Jubilee of the Bangalore Management Association. You see, and this was held at the National Institute of Advanced Studies in Bangalore, which is a Tata institution, right? And this was inaugurated by the Dalai Lama. So I wasn't there on the stage; I was in the audience watching it. But when my panel came up, the director of IIM Lucknow was my fellow speaker, and in the audience was the director of IIM Bangalore. Then I thought, let me try this dimming the lights technique. Right? I got the lights dimmed, and then I took them through my visualization. Right? So and I think the people liked it. So that's when I sometimes do this. I find that it's useful to walk my talk, give the audience a feel of what visualization can be like. Because let me tell you, the top sports people in the world visualize. Okay? Whether shooters or the javelin throwers or swimmers, everybody visualizes now. Right? And business people also, the top managers, many of them, so on. And lazy IS officers, I like to visualize. I used to, when I was, because I had done my MBA, I could, from IIM Calcutta, I could do my work faster than my colleagues because I'm a lazy person. I do things quickly. Rest of the time I will be sitting reading Buddhist philosophy or something. Doors closed, the peon will say, "How busy I am," but sometimes for lunch also I'll be taking a nap. So I visualize a lot. So also lazy people like me visualize, but it's useful because meditation and visualization also keeps you healthy physically. I don't do any exercise. Right? Please stand up, Lucinda. What's your height? 5'11.5". So you're slim and healthy. But if you visualize like me, at my age 70, you will still be slim and healthy. So that's the utility of visualization because this is something that can help you for the rest of your life, and you can build on it, come up with develop better and easier ways of doing it. Because I'm constantly reading stuff in neuroscience, meditation, and all sorts of other social sciences to find out a quicker way to go into an altered state. Now I can do it very quickly. I can meditate in a standing bus in Calcutta. I mean, it's a question of practice. There's not about talent. Talent has to be there, or a certain tendency, but you got to develop it, right? So, so this is a skill that you can now develop. Shall we now go on to the actual thing? Yeah, please dim the light. So, how many? You are the only Sikh in this audience, right? Who else is there? Okay. How many Muslims are here? Okay. Christians? Okay. So I thought in my visualization, if I might want to add something interesting. Okay. So are we ready then? Yeah, can I get a little more? Yeah. So we have a useful way of classifying things, an ABC classification, right? So I think so far my talk in terms of classification will be at least a B, I guess. Only way. Okay. So please close your eyes now, because unless you close your eyes, you won't get anything out of it. Okay, please close your eyes. Inhale deeply. Now exhale. Exhale. Imagine you are exhaling all your worries in the form of black smoke. Inhale, feeling of calmness and tranquility in the form of white smoke. Exhale all your tensions in the form of black smoke. Inhale peacefulness in the form of white smoke. Exhale your tensions like black smoke. Inhale tranquility like white smoke. Now direct your attention to your feet. Imagine that they are dipped in a bucket of warm water, and because of the warmth of the water, your feet are slowly becoming warm now, and gradually your feet become very pleasantly relaxed and heavy. And now the feeling of relaxation goes up your legs, thighs, hips, lower back, and your whole lower part of your body is feeling nice and relaxed. And then feeling of relaxation goes into your upper back, your abdomen, your stomach, shoulder, hands, lower arms, upper arms. So your torso, the middle part of your body, is now nicely relaxed. And finally, the feeling of relaxation goes into the head, your jaws, chin, your throat. Your tongue is lying limp in your mouth. Your jaw is relaxed. And it feels really good to be relaxed. When the body is relaxed, the mind is also relaxed. And now you imagine that you're going down in an elevator. You're going 20 floors down, and you count each floor as you go down. 1, 2, going down into yourself. And you become more and more totally relaxed. You're passing 5 and feeling really relaxed. 6, 7, and so on. Past 10th floor, and you're feeling almost totally relaxed. 15, even more relaxed. And now you're reaching the 20th floor down, and the elevator doors open. You find yourself in a beautiful scene. Maybe a garden, maybe a mountain valley, maybe a solitary beach. Could be something you've seen in your imagination, someplace maybe you've been before. And you easily remember those feelings of being at peace with yourself. You're at peace with nature. You're at peace with the entire universe. And suddenly you find you're no longer alone. There's somebody with you. Somebody you like very much, someone you trust, someone maybe you're very intimate with, someone with whom you're totally relaxed. You feel it feels very nice to be with a special person, and you feel joy, and then you're alone again. You find yourself lying there alone in that relaxing place, fully grounded to the earth beneath you, and you imagine a fine tube inside you, like the tube inside a thermometer. It extends from the bottom of your body to the crown of your head, and like mercury in a thermometer, you're going to make your energy or the fluid inside rise inside the tube from the bottom to the top. And as it rises, the tube, the color, the fluid changes color, takes on the colors of the rainbow, Vibgyor. At the bottom of the tube, bottom of your body, the fluid is violet, gradually rises up to your navel, becomes indigo. At the navel, it is blue, rises up to your heart region, becomes green. Reaches your throat, it becomes yellow. At the forehead, it's orange. And at the crown of the head, it is red. And when the fluid reaches the crown of your head, it fountains out to a fine hole there, and it covers, sprays, and bathes your entire body and your entire being with a feeling of peace, total calm, and contentment. You feel like a doll made of salt, which has been dipped into the sea, so that you melt totally. You become one with the surrounding ocean. And now you imagine you find yourself in a special place of your very own. You can call it your own private sanctuary. It's a place where you can visualize, where you can be highly creative and productive. It's a secret place that only you have the key to. Of course, you can invite somebody there, maybe a guru or a mentor or somebody. And in that special place, you say an affirmation to yourself. I easily achieve whatever your goal is, maybe to start a new company, whatever your goal is. I easily achieve my goal. And as you say this affirmation a few times, also visualize it. You remember your past successes, and you visualize that you already achieved what you wanted to achieve. And visualize using all your senses. See the people very dear to you, your parents, your siblings, who are very happy that you achieved what you wanted to achieve. Hear people congratulating you. Feel people shaking your hands and so on and so forth, patting your shoulders. And imagine how wonderful it feels that you are an outstanding achiever. You can also imagine somebody who is your idol. For a woman, it might be Indra Nui, MBA, or whoever. And imagine that you are becoming like that person, possibly better than that person. And now you're ready to come out of your altered state by counting backwards from 20 to 1. So you count backwards 20, 19, 18, 17, 15. As you pass 15, you tell yourself, I'm coming up feeling relaxed and alert. Keep counting backwards. 15, 15. When you come to 10, you say, coming up feeling relaxed and alert. Nine, 8, 7, 6, 5, coming up feeling relaxed and alert. Put your fingers together, thumb and forefinger together. With thumb and forefinger together. Hold it like that. Then 4, 3, 2, 1. And you can gradually open your eyes, feeling relaxed and alert. And you can switch on the lights now. I found that some people were so into the relaxation, talking in the sleep. I saw some people talking. Like talking in the dreams and so. Anyway, I think you guys there didn't get anything out of it because you were busy talking. But anyway, but not good. So Anjali, how did you like that?
It was relaxing.
Yeah, I think it's a useful technique. What do you think? Right. So you can do this yeah, we should do this regularly. Something like I'll pass on this to you. I'll update it. I prepared it 20 years back. I'll shorten it maybe a little bit and update it and send it to you to pass it on if somebody is interested. But basically, the best time to do it is at night because just before sleeping. And also, it's good to do it in the day when you get up in the morning. Sometime before going to work or whatever. Also, if you're lucky enough to have a brief nap, some people call it a power nap. You can do it the third time. I found that before I went to the US for my PhD, I did this, and I usually people take many years to do a PhD in the US because it's very difficult to get financial aid, and universities are extremely expensive. As my uncle said, he was a professor at Bangalore. He said, if you're spending your own money, it's not worth going. So expensive. But so people take a long time. Some people take 8 years and so on. Because Americans, they do courses, then they work and earn money, and then again continue so on. So before going, I visualized, and I was able to finish it in 4 years, which is reasonably fast. Anyway, so questions? As they say, ask no question and you will hear no lies. Simran, any questions?
Yes, sir. Mine, sir. I'm Kushagra Nirvan from the batch of 24. So there was talk about leadership, and one quote comes to mind of legendary Field Marshal Sam Manekshaw. He said that if you give me a man or a woman who has common sense and who's not an idiot, I will make a leader out of him.
Who has common sense and
who is not an idiot, I can make a leader out of him. And then there's another contrasting opinion where you have to have some innate skills to be able to eventually, because you have to be an initiator in order to be a good leader. So what is your opinion on this contrast?
See, there's a basic, just give one example. Basic difference between introverts and extroverts. I'm an introvert. No amount of training will help me become the soul of a party. Okay. So there are limitations. And Manekshaw is a great man. Maybe he is slightly wrong. And the other person, you can't.
No, I said you have to. There have to be some innate skills at least.
Right. I guess there has to be. Though a lot of it is due to training. So, depends on training.
Yes, sir. Actually, maybe he's coming from the opinion because he's from an army background, so what they kind of training.
Right. Army management is command management. You know, like bureaucracy also. Nowadays, it doesn't work in the bureaucracy. But in the army, it has to work. You make them do jogging every day so that they don't think. Any army people, please don't take that. Otherwise, Simran, you have people in the army?
Not directly, sir, but my father is an MBA.
Father?
Father is an MBA, sir. Literally engineering service.
Okay. So, your name you said Vivaan?
Yeah, Kushal Nirwan.
Vivaan. Great. The spiritual psychology is good for you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So this ultimate state is Vivaan. Right.
I am in Muslim.
Okay. So where are you from?
Jaipur.
Anybody else?
Sir, I'm Shweta from Batch of 24. So you talked about peak performance and like ability to perform at one's maximum ability. So how to achieve that as a student?
As a
Peak
student.
performance.
Okay. See, you practice this kind of visualization, and when you're, this is mine. I was a batch student for engineering and MBA. I was a batch student. Engineering, I just got a first class. 65%, the topper got 85%. MBA, I was at the bottom, almost plugged. Because I bunked most of my classes, or attended with the option in my time. Topper used to get 8 point something or 8.2. I got 5.06. But you know, a bad MBA student, I have my own HR model because I started doing things, studying things I was really interested in, like my US program. So advising you about studying may be wrong, but I think before exams, start visualizing doing well in the end, final, you are prime minister, right? Final exams and so on and so forth. Generally in life, visualization is very useful. There is something called priming in psychology. Does anybody know about priming? What's priming? Yeah. In priming a pump. But this is psychology. What is priming? So, for example, if you're conducting a psychology test, and you want a particular response from the subject, you ask leading questions or say things related to that subject, and then when you actually ask the questions, the subject will come up with those answers you want. For example, let's say, take an example from Bollywood. I don't like any of the Bollywood actresses. I find real, human beings are more attractive. But let's say we talk about, we're asking people about Bollywood. Asking people, what do you think about most of the time? I'm just making up an experiment from the top of my head. Okay? And then you start talking about Bollywood. What Chopra is she? Chopra. And that Clothes horse, Deepika Padukone, clothes horse is very tall. I mean, sorry, that's a sexist. But anyway, so you talk about Bollywood heroes, and then you ask first, what do you think about most of the time? People will probably talk about their actors and actresses and so on. So that's priming. You prepare the subconscious for doing certain things. So that's your programming your own mind. You see, usually the conscious mind and the subconscious mind are working at cross purposes. And it's the subconscious mind or the unconscious mind that has most of the potential. The mental potential is mostly in the subconscious. So you have to program the subconscious basically. So for that, you have to go into a deep state of relaxation. So when you're relaxing and you visualize that you're doing well, you've already done well. So that way you're priming the subconscious to work towards that goal. Is that clear? I lost both. Anyway. So Aditya, was that clear? Yeah, okay. Any other question?
And free time is essential. Like when you said that we need to meditate.
Sorry, I didn't.
Sir, you say that meditation is essential for good health. So I'm saying is discipline and free time really essential to go to this Zen state that you talked about, like this altered state?
Right.
I mean, how important would that be? Can somebody who is carefree and maybe bit indisciplined also reach that state which you talked about in detail?
Yes. Think of things that interest you. You see, then you can go deeper into your mind. It said that people say that throughout their lives, men think of women and women think of men. So basically, think of something romantic, then your mind can go deep into. You may think that I'm being frivolous, but basically think of something that interests you. If you don't think about getting up in the morning and doing PT, think of something that really interests you. Maybe starting your own company or something. So that by doing such things, you can prime your subconscious so that you can go into a deeper state. So and that is also the thing that practice is very important. See? As we said, I'm talking about talent. Unless you develop the talent, it will not work. So that's why people, sports people work so hard. And that's how they reach the top. So develop any habit, good or bad, it is repetition that is important. So you have to keep it. It's not that you can meditate for 5 days and then reach a deep state. Sorry.
So should I assume that we should be just practicing it, not necessary that we need discipline in life, but if we get very little amount of free time also, that would suffice.
Right. So now I get the point. Yes. You don't have to do it all the time. Do a little bit regular. Right?
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Yeah.
Morning, sir.
Yeah.
So, as we now know that visualization is important, but just visualizing would lead to building air castles. So, how to effectively execute visualization? That is my question.
That's a very good point. Because if what's the javelin thrower's name? Chauhan, is it? Yeah. My memory is very good because I've been visualizing, but sometimes I forget things. Okay? But as you said, just visualization will not do. Chauhan has to visualize, but he also has to go out to the field and practice. So both are necessary. Right? But with visualization, it's easier. For example, there was a very interesting psychological experiment in the US. They had two groups of people. People actually going to the basketball court and practicing, and they had people who just visualized. And the people who visualized did almost as well as the people who actually went and practiced. So if you both visualize and do the actual physical thing, that's ideal. Before you come to that, I wanted to ask you a question. Do you have any questions? You were listening very intently. Presumably, you were interested in what I was saying. Or you're like my daughter. She's looking in space, but she's thinking of something else. By the way, my daughter is very intelligent, but I'm not putting her down.
there are a lot of times. There are a lot of times you are also burdened with your past baggage which you have toddler. So it's in the past baggage can be your failures. Now when you're visualizing something, those baggages will ultimately come and haunt you and figure out. So how would you keep them in bay and focus more on visualizing what you ideally want?
Very good point. Long ago I read that when you're weeding a garden, instead of focusing on the weeds, suppose you plant a couple of rose bushes and you pour water and fertilizer to the rose bush. As the rose bush gets stronger, it takes up most of the nutrients from the soil, and the weeds get deprived of nutrients and they, die out themselves. So, habitual focusing on the positive can help you deal with that problem to a large extent. Good one. But then, even for experienced meditators like me, these things will come up. You just take it in your stride. Like water flowing, it will keep flowing. So as you will observe as you watch your mind, the thoughts will keep on coming and going. Don't allow yourself to get bugged by that. Just suppose you're saying a mantra. After some time you'll think of something else. Right? Maybe having a pizza or something. Okay, then you come back to the mantra. Rather than saying, oh, I can't do it.
So after this relaxing session, where we started with the mind map, moved on to game theory, then gave the example of cricket, where we came to know how it helps us in creating mental resilience. Then came to know about self-hypnosis, spiritual psychology was discussed here in detail. New terms which we were introduced to, like neurogenesis, neuroplasticity, and of course we also got a predefined new definition of leadership, creativity, and innovation. So, and contrasting thoughts like Indians are individualistic, which I heard for the first time here. And
sorry, what did you say?
the Indians are individualistic. We were not aware of that. It's a new side that you showed to us. Then also with plenty of advices, then from his own experience and expertise. So I think I'm reminded of a quote by Ravi Shastri, because I didn't connect with him since he started with also one cricket example. So he said that few more good words don't just make your day, but they also give you the sense of belonging and confidence to take the next big step forward. So thank you, Dr. Prem Saran sir, for not just filling our minds today with good words, but our hearts with plethora of wise advices to carry forward. So I'm sure the hundreds of students implement those in the future, to some extent. So moreover, thank you for capturing the audience so well, because I think they had a very relaxing session early in this morning. So I assure you that indeed you made a big difference today by your meaningful and inspiring words. We can't thank you enough for giving us the valuable time, sharing your expertise, experience, and also for the full dedication that you showed to us in this morning lecture. So, thank you for capturing the theme and topic so perfectly. The leadership cell and the public policy club at IIFT Kolkata, along with the entire IIFT, is sincerely grateful to you for your priceless contribution to this event. Thank you so much, sir. I would also like to acknowledge. I would also like to acknowledge the contribution of the current SCs and SCs of Public Policy Club and the leadership cell for the smooth conduct of the event, and definitely the organizing committee member of Vivaan 8.0. But most importantly, this event wouldn't have been a truly memorable one without the concerned and curious mind present over here. So thank you batch of 24 and 23 for joining us for this talk. As a wonderful audience, I wholeheartedly thank you all for your presence from the intel of my heart. With this, I would like to request the Nambari to present the souvenir and felicitate sir for his valuable time here and also committee action. Yes, sir.
I would make the point.
Sure, sir.
I want to apologize for two things. I didn't talk about rural organization.
But sir, you have mentioned leadership part, so we are happy with that.
And I also want to apologize to Good Simran.
We would love for this connection and the bond that we have built with you to continue for the future years ahead. Thank you, everyone. With this, we would sign off. Thank you so much.